Okay, welcome to the final week of class. How to study for the final exam. Okay, so let's scroll down. We have our usual to-do list. You'll see a checklist here. You'll see a folder for the final exam review materials, a folder for the actual final exam, and then you'll see this announcement that says the course eval will become available after you've completed the final exam. So once you have completed the final exam, this will be gone, and instead you should see a link to the course evaluation, which is worth 20 extra credit points. Okay, if we were to go to the final exam folder right now, and FYI, that's the same thing as over here, so that's this folder, and the final exam review folder lives here. If we were to go to the final exam folder, we'd see final exam information. We'd see a link to this final exam review folder, and we'd see a final exam checklist and nothing else. You won't have access to the final exam until you complete this checklist. FYI, this checklist lives in this folder, so if you take it from the home page, if you find it here, when you're done, it's going to dump you in that folder. You've probably realized this by now since they all kind of do that. So here's what it will look like when you start this checklist, which you should just do ASAP. There's no reason not to. It's just information about the final exam. Okay, so this is what it'll look like. When you open it, there'll be academic integrity information, some questions about that. There'll be some advice for studying. There's final exam information, some questions about the final exam, and what to do if you have technology issues. When you're done, you'll hit save and submit. You'll be able to review your answers. And then when you click OK, it'll dump you in the final exam folder, so you're right in here. Now that you've completed this checklist, the exam is available. There's two parts to the exam. You can take them in either order. You can take them on different days. Taking one doesn't commit you to taking the other right away. This is just where they are when you're ready. So now let's look at the final exam review materials. You can either get to it right here or it lives in the main menu over here. So in this folder, you'll see information about the final. You will see a practice final exam. There isn't a Blackboard version of the practice final. Instead, it's a PDF version. They're printer friendly. Ideally, print it out and take the final exam. If you can't print it out, then just write down your answers by hand. The number one thing you should do is take the practice final as if it's a real final. And you might even do it before you start studying and just do it as quickly and efficiently as possible. Like if I were to take this exam, I could do it in like 10 minutes while fully answering all the questions. But of course, I wrote it, so there's that. But if you just sit down and do what you know as quickly as possible, you could probably do that pretty quickly. And your goal is to figure out which things were you easily able to answer without having to go look at anything, and which things do you not know. Because the final exam is going to be timed, so you don't have all the time in the world to look up stuff. And most of the questions you're going to be asked don't have answers that can be looked up. You can sort of try to compare them to other things, but that's not an effective way to answer the questions, especially in the logic portion. So you actually need to have the skills and knowledge to do the final exam. Yeah, there's stuff to look at if you need it, but if you count on that as your primary way to do well on the exam, you probably won't do well on the exam. So take this as efficiently and quickly as possible just to figure out what you do and don't know. And notice there are solutions. So if you click on this, you'll see another PDF with complete solutions, everything explained. Okay, so there's part 1 and part 2. Here's some detailed study advice. I'll leave that to you to read. I just want to point out where all the practice exercises you might do are located. So in this folder, you'll see that there's a bunch of stuff right here. This is essentially homework questions reorganized by unit and module. So you can see what kinds of questions are in each one of these little practice things and choose accordingly. If you need to work on conceptual questions about validity, this is where you'll look. None of this affects your grade. If you practice, like let's say we open up Unit 1, Mods 1 to 2 materials, there's like 40 questions in here. So find the kinds of questions that you want to work on, answer some of them, and check the answers. You don't have to try to answer all of them. Also, for most of these, the questions will change each time. So you could do it more than once or whatever, but basically there's lots of versions of questions, so these things change. There are questions for translations, truth tables, and proofs, but also a good resource for that would be the original material in the modules. So let's maybe take a look at the proofs section. If you are still working on learning proofs, this material in the actual proofs module is pretty important. There's video lectures that introduce and demonstrate how to do proofs. There are practice exercises. This is the level that you want to work at for the both Logic Quiz 3 and the final exam. But if you are struggling to do this level, you've got to start with the easy ones. So there's easier examples that use just one rule at a time, combining two rules. There's quick videos to demonstrate the rule. So definitely remember that this is an important resource. And then another really good resource is old practice quizzes. So you'll see that those are all grouped together here. You can take these quizzes as many times as you want. So retake some practice quizzes. That's another good way to study because the final exam is very much like the quizzes, just a bit longer. Okay, last but not least, if you are studying and you have a question about a specific exercise or a specific kind of skill, don't hesitate to reach out with a question. Obviously, you can contact me by Remind. I also do respond to email. And of course, a plug for the Q&A question forum. This is a place where you can post questions and I will see that you have made a post and I will respond to them. See, I respond to lots of stuff. All right, I believe that is all. Good luck on the final exam and don't forget to complete the course eval because it is worth 20 extra credit points.